Here we are on day 2 of my trailer project. I went out last night and got myself some foam, and it's kind of gloomy and overcast today. We've been having thunderstorms moving through, so hopefully it'll give me enough time to be able to get this stuff cut outside here on my patio, as opposed to trying to clear out my garage and get it put in there, because I just moved a bunch of stuff in there for these random rainstorms coming through. So I got this 1-inch foam insulation. It's the expanded polystyrene. It's about $12.50 a sheet. It's got the foil backing on one side. I think I'm going to put the foil towards the inside of the chambers here. It seems to be kind of a toss-up which side to put the foil on. I don't have any air gaps between the foil and the walls, so at least very little of an air gap, so it's not going to do me a whole lot of good either side. I don't really want it, or I don't think it'll do me any good against the aluminum. I might have some air gap on the inside. I'm going to have none on the outside. So I'm going to put that foil to the inside. Unfortunately, when they installed these uprights, these channels along the sides here, they're supposedly 16 inches on center, but every gap is a little different. So I was going to use my table saw. I was going to set it up with like the 14-inch spacing that I have generally, and just run it through on the table saw, which would have been really messy because you cut this stuff on the table saw and it's a total mess. But at least it would have been quick. But I'm going to have to go through and cut each piece individually by hand. I'm probably just going to lay it out on the ground and cut it with a knife to fit each individual slot, and then I'm going to have to try and get them to squeeze into the gaps, because the channels are like this on the inside, and I got to put the foam between the channels. So I'm going to get to cutting on this. We'll get the first one cut out and try and get it installed. Now that I've gotten a little way into this, I want to show you what I'm doing. It's going along fairly smoothly. It took me a little bit to get this dialed in, but here's basically what I'm doing. I'm taking my tape measure, and I'm just measuring the gap between the lips of these channels. These channels have the overhang lip, which is nice because it holds the foam in. But so I'm measuring between them to make sure I want a little bit of extra space as opposed to super tight, because this is not going to be super insulated. It's just going to be better insulated. I can't expect to be perfect unless I sheet it over the whole thing with foam, and then I would lose a lot of interior space. I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to do the best I can and call it good. So in order to get it in these channels, I'm measuring so that it fits, and I'm going over marking it out on the board as seen earlier, and I'm using a butcher knife, just a nice thin butcher knife. I want a really thin one. Just any kind of a knife that's nice and thin. Even one of the ones with a mildly serrated blade might work fairly well. But I found this cuts this foam about as good as you could hope, and makes a minimum of mess, because this foam gets everywhere. So after I cut my board out to fit, I can't jam it in here because it's just not flexible enough. If I use thinner stuff, it would be flexible. I could shove it in there, but I'm using this 1-inch, so it's just not going to fit. So what I've done is I've cut a slot. I just cut another slot down here, another strip, and you just bend it on that edge so that it flexes on the outer sheath. And then you could put this into your pocket. You see how much you would have to flex in order to get in. So I'm going to put that in the pocket, and then I can just push it into the slot. Oh, I got the edge down there. There we go. All right. So there it is. It's not perfect. I could probably put a strip of duct tape or something down there, but I don't think I'm going to bother. This is not going to be that well insulated, but just better insulated, like I said. And now that just slides down, and then there's a little bit of a channel on the bottom that's holding it out. So I just have to pull that out a little bit, and then get it right down to the bottom. And there it is. So that's how you put those in there. Well, like I said, you could put a strip of tape on here if you really wanted to close that gap up, but it's actually fairly well compressed, so I'm not really worried about it. I'm going to move on and keep doing this thing. It's going to take me a bit, but it's taking me about an hour to get all this, the first set of them in here, so we're moving. There you have it. I've got the trailer basically fully insulated. I'm finished basically day 2 on it. So insulation day is done. I have 1 sheet left over. I thought I was going to need 9 sheets of foam. I ended up using 7, and that's all I have left over. So basically what I did is I started on the walls, as you see in the video, and I realized after I got a little ways through that I wanted to go to the biggest pieces first and then work my way down to the smaller spots. So after I'd done a little bit of the walls, I switched over and did the front here, which is the big piece there, and then I moved on and did the roof and the bigger chunks, and then I finished out the walls, and then I filled in the little gaps, and then I finally finished up with the fiddly little spots like the corner here, and there's a couple other spots like these gaps here where I kind of had to piece it together a little bit. But for the most part, it's a very efficient use of foam, and I'm pretty happy about that. Got the 1 sheet left over. I might use it on one of the floor panels because the floor all needs to be done as well, but that needs to kind of breathe because it's down near the moisture, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. So next day or next time I'm going to do electrical, and then hopefully I'll get some siding on this thing in the next week here or so, into my weekend now, so I'm going to have to go back to work. But end of day 2. Thanks for watching.